You can have a overwhelmed feeling of anger,
Mm-hmm.
and this is when you feel like a situation is out of your control and you can't like get it back. Like
This one is normally mixed with anxiety.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Absolutely.
and hopelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing that we have to teach our clients is, of course, things that y'all probably have already heard. Like, what in this situation, what can you control?
Mm-hmm.
And control the things that you can control, and let go of what you can't. Because the things that you can't control is what's causing you the anxiety, the feeling of hopelessness, and feeling of being overwhelmed, and that's causing you to feel anger.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to the RePsychled podcast, where we discuss everyday issues from a mental health perspective. We are your hosts, Dr. Rashonda Strickland,
Dr. LaFonya Jones-Hines,
and Dr. Nichelle Wall.
Welcome back to session 132, Why Anger is Misinterpreted. Today's mood music is brought to you by Nina Simone. It is entitled Misunderstood. I don't want to be misunderstood. And the definition of misinterpreted. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Okay. So today we're going to be talking about anger. We're going to tell you the definition of anger, the types of anger, and how it shows up in different cultures, specifically people of color. Mm-hmm. So anger is an intense emotion you feel when something has gone wrong or someone has wronged you. So do you ladies think people misinterpret emotions as anger, or do people's initial reactions to situations look like anger?
Honestly, I think it's both. So I do think that people misinterpret anger. So they look at a certain set of physical characteristics, tone of voice, things like that, and misinterpret what that person is experiencing as anger. But I also think that people's reactions to situations, while it's a fast process, and I know we'll dive into this a little bit deeper, about anger being like a secondary emotion. Although it's a fast process, I do think that immediately you can be like, oh, and then it does give that visual display. So I think it can be both. I agree with all that you just said. So I don't got nothing extra to add to that, but I agree. Okay, well, see, look, I summed that up nicely.
Yes, I do agree. I think that we are definitely misunderstood when we communicate. We communicate with our body, we communicate with our tone.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things can be misinterpreted. I also think that we have one reaction usually, and reaction, especially to situations that either excites us, that disappoint us, hurt us. We have the immediate initial reaction is like, what? And very expressive,
That, man, I want to actually do a video on this a little bit later today. Is Consciously made a video the other day about how Black people, we have tonal language. And we've said this on sessions before. So like when you say, I'm fine, or I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, all of those are different. But he used you good. Like, you good? You good? Those are two totally different receptions you're going to get from the other person, right?
Yeah.
And how tone is very significant in interpreting what you should do, shouldn't do. Right. Because like when I say you got the right one today and you got the wrong one today, them is both the same thing. And understanding the tone behind what that person, how they're communicating is very essential. So I think that is something that gets misinterpreted a lot when it comes to anger, is that people are not great at reading tone.
I agree. And indeed the opposite, let me say that again, and then the opposite is we also allow our adrenaline to get the best of us, and our tone can, because sometimes I can say something like, whoa, hold on, they had a lot of stank on them. I didn't mean to make it like that.
Had a little bite.
Yeah. Let me reverse that. Do that again.
Roll that back.
Yeah.
Roll that beautiful bean footage. Y'all remember that? Yeah, I do think it's also in that misinterpretation piece as well, that we can misinterpret our own emotion. Yeah. And we think we're angry, but really it is we feel disrespected, we feel hurt, we feel misheard or misunderstood. And there's all of these other feelings that are going unmet, but visually on the outside I look angry.
Yeah. Which is why one of the things that I do with my clients off the top, I don't care, like the second session that I have with them, I have a emotions chart in my office on a clipboard, and I tell them all the time, the first thing I'm always going to ask you is, how are you feeling today? I don't accept good, fine, and okay. I need you to give me a good emotion. If you can't think of one, it's a clipboard right there in front of you. Grab it. Because a lot of times we don't understand our own emotions. So when we don't understand our own emotions, other people can't understand them either. Because we're showing something, let's just say anger, and we're hurt. Like, I can't help you if you are not telling me what your right emotion is.
Absolutely. 100%. And anger is easy. I think sometimes we forget that anger is like one of the easiest emotions to have. Because it's very visual. Like outside of like happy, and I would even say sad to some extent, anger is probably the most visual emotion that you can have. And when we say anger, we mean all the umbrella of anger. So there's levels to this shit. You have rage, which is like all the way up here. And then all the way down at the bottom is like annoyed or irritated. But it's a very like physical, and even across species, like it's very easy to tell we all pretty much, if you're a mammal, we all pretty much do like the same thing. We furrow the brow, and we don't gnash our teeth, but, other animals do. But we, buck, we yell, like there's so many ways that it's such a physical, production.
And it's more accepted in men. It's not accepted for us, but it's more accepted with men. And the thing about it is, it's more accepted for men, but then they get criticized for being angry as well. Like now for women, we just can't be angry. We supposed to be dainty and ladylike at all times.
Whatever that means.
Right.
Yeah, I read this article that was talking about how they had people rate anger across, it was specifically just black people and white people. So white women, white men, black women, black men, and how for displays of anger, it was seen as positive for white men, negative for black men and black women, and they compared it against fear. So when people expressed fear, it was shown as a negative for white men, but as a positive for white women. But it was still a negative for us as well. We're supposed to be void of emotion. Which is why we have so many struggles with being able to properly emote, because still to this day, we're not allowed to truly be a full human and express ourselves fully.
I think for a lot of us, don't know how to express our anger because we're confused about what our emotions feel like. Because that's one of the things that I also ask my clients to do as well, is talk about how does it feel when you experience this emotion, whatever emotion it may be. How does it feel in your body? Because I think when we feel like that adrenaline or that butterfly or whatever it is that you feel when you're angry, if you feel that same thing with another emotion, you can't recognize. You just go to anger. Yeah. Well, I must be angry because you have that adrenaline rush.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I think that happens a lot. And I also believe that if you are under the influence, it complicates that experience even more. You think about people that get into bar fights, things like that. That it already you're not in a headspace where you're going to be interpreting a situation in the most accurate light. But then your expression of that feeling is going to be intensified. So if you're, happy-go-lucky, you're going to be on cloud 9. And if I'm frustrated and irritated and angry and you bump into me, well, you had to have done it on purpose and now you're ready to fight. Like, no, that's not always how it is.
Because I see the confusion a lot with hurt and anger and disappointment and anger a lot.
Mm-hmm. I see, and also disrespect.
Yes, disrespect. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say, them three get confused a lot when it comes to being angry.
And I think we also have to look at how we learn how to express it. Like if you think about, and I use this example, this video all the time, and this song, even though I love the song, Jasmine Sullivan. Like you clearly are hurt, but you're busting windows. That looks like rage.
Mm-hmm. Or Carrie Underwood. She said, I dug my key and to the side. She said, I carved my name into the letter C. Look, girl, that's vandalism. Don't do it.
Right. Please don't.
Don't do it. Please don't. They charge for that now. Don't do that. Absolutely. So what do you guys think is like one of the most destructive or like volatile versions of anger? Because of course, again, there's levels, right? What do you think causes the most damage to people or relationships? Well, speaking from a psychological perspective, I'm going to say limbic rage, but that's a whole nother topic. We're not even really talking about that, but that's almost like a disorder, even though that's not how it be classified, but it's where you black out and have rage of a certain degree that you don't remember essentially anything. So your brain is not quite functioning the way it should. Mm-hmm. I would say that psychologically. Mm-hmm.
I would say retaliation. Retaliation can be vindictive.
Like it's calculated?
Yeah, it's calculated. It can be vindictive. It can be sneaky. It can be mischievous. It can, and the thing about it is sometimes, like I know they say sticks and stones may hurt my bones. May hurt my whatever.
May break
my bones, but words will never hurt me.
She pulled a George Bush, y'all. There's a saying in Tennessee. It's in Texas. I think they have it in Tennessee. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, can't get fooled again.
Oh my God! Oh, that's hilarious. But that's what they say. But the thing about it is when people retaliate and it's words or sneakiness or mischievous, that's a scar that can be left forever.
Absolutely.
Like now you've ruined the relationship. Like now, granted, if you hit me, we gonna fight. Now whether or not we can reconcile or not, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But
ain't no reconciliation. Ain't no reconciliation after that. Nah, I got to watch my back. Mm-hmm. And I said this before on many sessions. I'm not fighting fair. But y'all at home that don't know, Dr. Wall is 5'2". I'm not fighting fair, so be prepared to die. I agree with both of you ladies when it comes to the externalization of anger. If we were talking about towards the self, then I would say that like silent, internalized self-hatred version of anger, where I disappoint myself, I'm a failure. Like it's all this internal turmoil. And we've talked about this on plenty of sessions over the last couple of years, y'all. Please go back and listen to ones we've talked about how emotions for a long period of time just sitting there will create chronic illness, chronic pain. Like it will start to break your body down. So from an internalized standpoint, I would say that anger is probably one of the more self-destructive emotions. There's a lot going on out here, yeah.
Yeah.
Get your emotions in check.
We have to, because we just be over here just, I don't know, treating people any kind of way, and we think people just supposed to accept it and not be upset, not be hurt, not retaliate. You know, I just think we definitely we have to do better as people in communicating.
Yeah, absolutely. When I used to work with the PDs, and for y'all that's not in healthcare, that's the pediatrics. One of the things that we used to always do when we did like our little anger skills group is we had like a 3-step rule. So it's okay to be angry. It's not okay to hurt myself, and it's not okay to hurt somebody else. And if you can keep those 3 things in mind when you do experience true anger, it can help save a lot of fallout and issues on the back end. Because again, anger is very destructive, and there's a lot of cleanup that has to happen after anger. And some cleanup you can't come back from. Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing that you also have to remember is that we teach our clients that all emotions are healthy, but we make them unhealthy because of the behavior that's attached to it. So one of the things that I always confuse my clients when I use it is, you know, I give them a whole list. What's the healthy version of sad? What's the healthy version of mad? Which the healthy version of mad is anger. But then what's the healthy version of anger? And then they always get stumped. Like, I thought anger was unhealthy. It can be. Anger can be unhealthy based on the behavior. But if you learn how to manage your anger, it can be on the healthy side.
Agreed. Any of them, it's all in what you do, ultimately. Oh, you're out here doing the most.
Girl.
But these are things that we're not taught, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to put this out there like we all just walk around knowing this information.
No.
You know, we went to school for this, so this is stuff that we even had to learn over time and then evolve as we continue to work with individuals and learn more of the like subtle nuances and things like that. So you don't come out the gate knowing how to express yourself, how to, you know, deal with your own internal issues, set boundaries. This is all stuff that comes through experience. Yeah. So what are the types of anger that, you know, show up? You know? Okay. There's a bunch. Yes.
So one of them is, I already said retaliation, and you said silence.
Absolutely. I would say the healthiest version of anger would be like an assertive, right? So this is when you're able to communicate effectively, get your point across, the person understands where you're coming from, done it in a way that hasn't hurt you or hurt the other person. And understand does not mean agree. Yes. Those are 2 different things.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I would say another one is chronic, which is an ongoing generalized resentment of people. And I think resentment is very scary because the thing about resentment is you can resent someone and still kind of kikiing in their face. But you just letting it. The thing about it is it's a build up of things that you haven't dealt with or communicated with. And before you know it, you done blew up on the person and don't even know why. Well, they don't know why.
Yes. And they looking at you like, what I do? What happened?
Exactly.
Okay. You know, so we did talk about destructive anger and, you know, kind of how that it's a very behavioral thing. So, this is like property destruction, punching the wall. Like, this is going to be that person that it's going to be like, okay, whoa, buddy, settle down.
Yeah.
Again, anger is very visual for the most part. You can have a
overwhelmed feeling of anger,
mm-hmm.
and this is when you feel like a situation is out of your control and you can't like get it back.
Mm-hmm. Like, this one is normally mixed with anxiety.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And hopelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing that we have to teach our clients is, of course, things that y'all probably have already heard, like what in this situation, what can you control?
Mm-hmm.
And control the thing that you can control and let go of what you can't. Because the things that you can't control is what's causing you the anxiety, the feeling of hopelessness, and feeling of being overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's causing you to feel anger.
Oh, yeah. I think one that a lot of, like, on a societal level that people experience is like a moral/judgmental type of anger. So this one really hones in on fairness.
Mm-hmm.
So if I believe something that you've gotten something, it kind of umbrellas envy and jealousy a little bit here too. So if I believe that you've gotten something or there's some injustice that's happened against me or some other person, then I get this moralistic type of anger, and express it that way. But I see this one a lot online. I think this one lives online a lot. There's a lot of discourse about just about every subject you can think of. We're not going to even start tapping in on some of those. But I think this is a very kind of like a newer version of anger because so many opinions exist nowadays about so many different issues. And everybody kind of has this moral high ground, self-righteousness about themselves. So if these are my beliefs, then if you disagree with my beliefs, then we got a problem. That kind of thing. Everybody want to be right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody want to be healthy.
That part. I would say another one is volatile. And this is the one that makes you feel mad about perceived annoyances. And this one also is the one that you can calm down the quickest because once you impulsively express it, you calm down. Mm-hmm. And the thing about all of these types of anger, the thing about it is once you feel it, you still need to get it out, but you need to get it out in a way that's healthy. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't get it out, it can become that overwhelmed anger because it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's going to come out of you, whether or not you like it or not. It's going to come out.
If you don't deal with your feelings, they're going to deal with you. Passive aggressive is another version of anger. This is a lower level, kind of like low-lying anger. But, when people usually show passive aggressive, it's like sarcastic, like, well, I mean, if it worked for you, it's like, well, hold on, wait, excuse me. Well, I don't know about all that. Okay. So if you find yourself taking a pause to think about what the person said, it probably was passive aggressive. Because passive aggressive, when you receive it, sometimes it takes a second to sink in that that's what just happened. Because you're like, well, what they said wasn't really too bad, but I still feel some kind of way about what they said or what they did. So you probably experienced a passive aggressive version of anger. Yeah, just keep your eyes peeled. Other types, I would definitely say verbal.
Yep.
So these are like people that are going to explode on you, cuss you out, be all in your face, calling you every name under the sun.
I think this is another one that's important too because those words.
Mm-hmm. And some people know. They know what your pain points are and will use that to their advantage to make themselves feel better. Because of course, these are not feelings that you want to walk around feeling. even though there's not really a unhealthy, feeling out there, I still don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel anger. So I got to displace it somewhere. And my crosshairs are set on you. Yeah. Deliberate anger is another one. So this one is kind of retaliatory. So this is like, but I am going to make sure that I get you. So retaliation is like, you hit me and then we hit each other back. But deliberate is like premeditated. I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that I hurt you.
And we're finding a lot of those people in today's society.
Yeah, that's a scary person to be around.
Yeah. Now, that one's scary.
It kind of goes hand in hand when we've talked before about the malignant narcissist.
Yeah.
How they are the most dangerous, scary version of narcissists to encounter. That this puts me in that headspace. So there's some people you do have to be really careful on how you deal with them because it can become dangerous. Yeah, so those are pretty much the basic types.
Yeah.
Other than your run-of-the-mill upset. I know hearing all this is like, well, shoot, being upset don't sound so bad now.
Okay.
People out here trying to, put their crosshairs on me. I can't live my life like that. Okay. Well, any other final thoughts, ladies? No?
Deal with you
before it deals with you. All right, so y'all know we always end off with a quote.
Today's quote comes from Aristotle. Anybody can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person and to the right degree and at the right time and for the right purpose and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power and is not easy.